everyone. Thank you. Thank you for being here today. I am joined on stage with Rafeh Mahmud, who is the artistic director of Theatre ARTaud and a co-creator on this piece, and ARTaud Lakhani, who is also a co-creator on this piece. I wonder if we might just start things off with you guys saying a little bit about the type of art and theater that you really love.
So many things, it's hard to put a label on them. Love David Lynch movies, love Scorsese movies, love Shakespeare, love Brecht. It's funny actually, now that I'm saying all this, I think the piece sort of has all of these elements a little bit in them. I mean, it's Rumi, Rumi's a 1,000-year-old poet, and we've tried really hard to take the Masnavi, which is a 6-volume novel, book of poetry. Epic book of poetry, and tried to stage it. I think, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And for myself, I take inspiration from your company's title, actually, Theatre ARTaud.
ARTaud, yes.
If those who might be familiar, Antoine Artaud was a French playwright and director who was, at his time, quite, for lack of a better word, shunned from society from the type of art that he used to create. He was behind the theater of
the absurd.
The theater of cruelty.
No, cruelty is in Brazil.
Theater of the absurd. Theater of the absurd. And that's the kind of art I kind of enjoy, the avant-garde art space. And what just fun things about Artaud, what he did at that time is his philosophy was, as long as it evokes a feeling. Doesn't mean you have to understand it. Doesn't mean how grotesque it is. Doesn't mean I have to blare loud sounds at you. If I can evoke a feeling, that feeling is real. That's kind of the philosophy I like to follow.
Excellent. I'm just going to read what the show is about as we have written about it. So The Caged Bird Sings explores the literal and metaphorical prisons that we are put ourselves in, and the ones that we create. Inspired by Sufi mysticism and concepts of fanafila, the critically acclaimed production examines our ability to overcome and break out of the cage. It tells the story of 3 prisoners, 2 star-crossed lovers and scientists, Rumi and Jinn, who share a cell with Sal, a mysterious vagrant. As they navigate their newfound reality and reconcile their past lives, they are haunted by ghosts and demons of their own making. So I think I have, one of the big questions I want to ask is, what is mysticism in Sufi belief? Yeah. I feel like this is a good question for you.
The reason why we toss it away is, with any kind of belief system, it's depending on interpretation and what one makes of it, right? The word that comes into mind is the word that I was just talking with a fellow colleague before, of esoteric, of spirituality. And when we talk about Sufism, it is perhaps a pathway of one which can practice that spirituality that has these mysticism components. And what I mean by those mysticism components are those components that might not be available to the naked eye, but need more searching for. So in the world of Sufism, it usually takes some kind of guide to take you to a spiritual path or journey. If one looks into the history of Rumi, the poet he knows, he had a path, his guide was somebody we refer to as Shams, who brought him along the way. So it's a school of thought that is about trying to discover your own spirituality, but has its own method and techniques, much like very different belief systems.
Excellent. Thank you. In the show, the characters, some of the characters are searching for enlightenment. And I think that we, in the Western world, have sort of this pop culture, maybe Buddhist framework of what enlightenment might be. So I wonder if you can talk a little bit about, what is the Sufi perspective on enlightenment? How does one find it? How is it akin or not akin to benevolence, which might be more associated with a Buddhism form of enlightenment?
I just want to say, if we're looking for enlightenment at the end of these 90-minute shows, we're all going to be very, very confused. we do not reach enlightenment in any way. I know, right? And certainly we're not trying to even espouse that we know the understandings of life in this way. Rumi from 1,000 years ago was talking about so many crazy things that still relate to our lives today, about like how we work from 9 to 5s and get stuck in this rut, quote unquote, that makes us a little more like disconnected from each other. You think about COVID, for example, and how we became so isolated rather than more connected. Of course, we need social distance and all that, but his musings still speak to us today about the world that we live in. I think it's kind of crazy that someone from 1,000 years ago could. And I think, especially in the Western world, Rumi is the best-selling poet in North America. And he's become kind of a soundbite than really anything else. And all we've tried to do is take his work and just show the madness that it really holds. He is significantly more insane than anyone gives him credit for. Definitely doesn't make sense a lot, is completely open to interpretation. But I think he's trying to just touch upon the gray areas of life. He has a big saying, which is, you are not you, but myself, which is sounds like Shakespeare, and people, have books and books arguing about what that means. And all we're trying to do is try to just espouse some of that and try to live in this idea of what it means to sort of sacrifice yourself in front of the universe, quote unquote, in this way to try to become one with each other. I guess that's really what we're trying to do.
And just to add to that, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, obviously we discussed this, but the key word being there, that sacrifice, right? In Sufism, in that literature, in Rumi, that poet, what's the purpose of the Masnavi is a debatable question. The Masnavi, though, comes back to this concept that's permanent in Sufism called the naf. The naf refers to your ego. And it's that ego that keeps you perhaps from dissolving yourself into something that is greater than yourself, which is different for many different people in a place. And Rumi, in his poetry, is, in his parables and the stories, the way the Masnavi is alluding to the different ways one can battles that ego or comes across that ego. And I think one of the fun things that we've had in writing this show is contemporizing that with our daily struggles today.
Yeah.
It's interesting, dissolving yourself with something that is greater than yourself. We live in a time that's so, the self is very important today. Like we see it, social media, it's everywhere. People are constantly like clinging to these things. So I wonder what, like Rumi's teachings, is this the thing that makes him so enduring? And what do you think Rumi would say about this today? The world.
Probably things more insane than we're trying to show in the show, for sure. I'm sorry, I don't even know if I understand the question exactly.
I guess my question is I'm trying to riff off of some of the things you just talking about self, and so are there things that Rumi writes about that maybe, let's pivot, that maybe we don't have a Western understanding for, or things that happen today? Like there's not a touch point for us in the West that we feel connected to. Are there things?
It's really hard for me to say, so we grew up in Pakistan and we moved here for college and have lived here ever since. I get into a little fight with my friends, a small anecdote, maybe it'll make sense, is when we were kids, we used to go to the store and we'd go buy snacks and stuff. And no one would complain about whose snacks were whose. And you just sit down and if I picked up my friend's Doritos and ate it before him, there was no fight about it. Whereas I feel like over here there's a very individualistic mindset, what is mine, and what is yours, and we have to keep that apart. Similar thing at the, when we're at a bar, I'll be like, oh, let's split the bill. And it's no, you get it today and I'll get it tomorrow and we'll move on this way. So I think in those teachings, I think Rumi is trying to, it helps in understanding that the self is not just me, we are all here, you're sitting right here. Clearly there's a connection right here. And I think just understanding that might be one of the hardest things that Rumi tries to do.
Yeah.
Cool. You are not you, but myself.
You are not you, but myself. Whatever that means.
Fair.
I think it might be helpful to even just talk about why Rumi wrote the Masnavi to begin with, right?
Yeah, that's actually one of the other questions I have.
Yeah, so it came about shortly after. So Rumi, for those who know it, was in the 12th century in what is now modern-day Afghanistan, I believe. And he started writing this Masnavi shortly after his guide, his mentor, and his deeply affectionate bond with Shams passed away. And Rumi's close confidants at that time asked him, because Rumi was already some level of a spiritual authority at that time, can you help us elevate? Can you be our guide? And in doing so, he came up with these Masnavis, these stories, these 25,000 verses, 50,000 lines, a book of couplets, and he used to walk around, and whenever he used to receive inspiration, talk about it, and his disciples would write it down, and it would make sense. And now the structure of the Masnavi by design is, and it's something that we've tried to do within the show, is we're not simply just presenting you with the stories of the Masnavi, we'd like to present you with the experience of reading the Masnavi. And the distinction why I make that is, when you read the Masnavi, it's not easy. A story starts, there's an interjection, there's an explanation, it's a story within a story, a resolution, something else, a divine intervention somewhere else. And some say it was sporadic, some say Rumi did this by design to kind of emulate the flow of the world in itself. So I think then, just to tie it back to your question, is there something between that we have in the West or the East? No, I don't think there's something specific of that. I think the medium of expression is something, but my belief has always been, and I think if Rumi was here, he would say the same, that what's between the East and West is not a clash of civilizations, but a clash of ignorance. So a part of our work today is trying to showcase how much we're all similar by putting forth a 1,000-year piece of work from Afghanistan.
I love it. Yeah, thank you for that. I'm curious about the stories you chose to be in the production, and the stories that maybe you left out, and how this process came to be. Like, why, as I understand it, like, the first story in this production is the first story in the Masnavi?
One of the stories in the production is the first story of the Masnavi.
So how did you go through the process of choosing what you chose?
How can you begin anything better than how the Rumi begins his own stories?
Honestly, it's quite hard to even answer that. It's fucking long. Sorry for my French. And all we try to do is capture the ethos. And we thought in doing so, we try to take the most, what we thought, bizarre stories that do connect in a hilarious way and try to put them together. One of the stories, I don't want to mention the name, as it's like a small reveal in the show, not really, but is like the opening story, and it doesn't make any sense. Like, the idea of it is completely open to interpretation. It's something we thought about as 3 writers together. It's the people have thought about it since the dawn of time, apparently, as well. So all we were trying to do is, it's a very dense, very, very dense piece of work, and we've done it in 90 minutes because we respect our audience. So even if you guys hate it, you still have your evening to yourselves.
That's right. There was just a lot of talk in the writer's room, and it was a question of what elements of ourselves do we want to put into the story, and which of Rumi's stories serve us, and which do we kind of understand ourselves that we can utilize.
Nice.
Yeah, that's true.
How do 3 writers work together?
A lot of drinking, a lot of arguing. Step 1 through step 3, and then we finally get some words on page. To have any story, I guess, like, you have to have some sort of structure to it. Which with Rumi's Masnavi is even more impossible, because it is like a sort of cyclical story that goes on and on. So we tried really hard to sort of maintain that structure. And then as you start putting limitations on your structure, like, ideas start flowing. and that's sort of where we came around to the idea of breaking up into 3 parts. That you go from, it's called fortune, frenzy, and fana. So you go from all the goals to all the insanity to maybe shedding yourself in front of God, whatever anyone believes. And I guess that's sort of how we tried to come up with the story.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of storyboarding.
Yeah.
A lot of we'll assign certain acts to each other, certain moments, and then flip the scenes, and then come, and then just it's easy to be a writer. You just stand in there and bleed. As somebody said. That's exactly it.
I wonder, you just said the word fana and fanafala. I wonder if you can explain.
I honestly, I
word.
can't. Like the idea of it's not even a sacrifice to God. Technically, it's the annihilation of self. So it's sort of like this Jungian death of your ego idea, which makes you closer to God or the universe in this way. And we certainly don't have the answer to how to do that. I promise you, the show will not explain that at all. But honestly, I think we just tried to show our characters in a Rumi world would potentially try to find some meaning of peace in their lives out of all the shame and mourning, for all the things. I have regrets from when I was a teenager, and I still can't let them go. But why can't I let them go?
Yeah.
I need to forgive myself. They need to forgive me. I need to shed myself in front of, I don't know what, maybe myself, or in front of you. I don't know.
Yeah.
And there's no one answer to this question. Many Sufism or many just different schools of thought that's not necessarily. If I asked you to meditate, if I asked you to close your eyes for 10 minutes, we each all have our own ways. And the hardest thing is to not think of anything, right? And focus on that word. What's really interesting, I think, comes about is how different schools of thought have tried. In one of the associations that we have with Rumi is of the whirling dervish, where you see a person who's in that white garb with the red hat that I forget the name of, and they're cyclically going around, and their arms are pointed in a specific way. And it's one way of practicing. It's just a way of dancing that it centers you in the universe, that the water is flowing to your hand down and giving life, and you put yourself in a trance-like state as you're doing this. That's just one way of approaching that. It's the same thing of somebody taking a rosemary bead and saying a few things that they want to. It's just different ways that we try to focus to that ultimate goal, right? And who's to say what that is exactly? But that's what Rumi was trying to explain to us, we believe. How do you get to that point in this world when there's so many distractions?
Yeah. Is Rumi's piece a lot of epic poems are sort of not necessarily, or they are potentially teaching devices or parables? Is the Masnavi something that was co-opted or for a purpose in its time? In its time, let's say.
It was a spiritual aid.
Yeah. It was
specifically.
Yeah, his companions were like, please teach us your ways. Please tell us how to ascend the way you have. And he came up with these stories. There's one thing I would like to add. This goes back to your question. And I think Rafeh had actually pointed this out, is how much we were surprised when we tried to read the Masnavi. It is, Rumi, we said, all knows beautiful, but the Masnavi is dark. It can be sexual at times. There are a lot of stories in there that's not within the mainstream portrayal of how we think of Rumi. And we've tried to capture elements of that.
I love that.
Yeah.
You're going to come up with a whole new line of fridge magnets for folks. Huh? In the show, I'm curious, you cast Rumi as a woman. Why?
Oh man, Rumi has, the biggest controversy of Rumi's life is that he was gay. Something that's not necessarily accepted by that part of the world. His guide was technically his lover. We have both of them in the show.
Love that.
Why cast a woman? I think we wanted to make it a little more androgynous in this way. It is a queer love story of sorts. Yeah, it seemed better to put it in a femme mask than a masculine voice, sort of when we came around to it.
And whether Rumi, I'd say whether the Rumi, the character, is Rumi the poet in our show is up for you to decide.
Yes, that's also a whole separate thing.
This is a great question.
Yeah.
So they're not necessarily.
They're not necessarily.
Just could be happy coincidence.
Well, that's a good question. You know, did Rumi write about his own life? Was he writing about? Was he trying to teach? What was Rumi trying to do? And it's really hard to say. It's from 1,000 years ago. When you read it, it makes even less sense and becomes even more complicated as you go through it. So we definitely had to sort of pick a voice that we thought made structural sense to our show, and that was Rumi as a female.
Nice.
The character Rumi as a female.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, what is something that the audience should definitely know ahead of time going into the show? Are there things that you're like, I really want people to know pre-seeing the show? And then what is the thing post the show that you hope they take away? Two-part question.
Well, I think it's also like your question is based on our ethos also as like theater ARTaud, which ARTaud explained, is to like sort of shock and provoke the audience in a way. And I think Rumi's work sort of does that when you read it also. Like, it is so ridiculously weird and dense that it's sort of like, it's like a David Lynch movie sometimes. It's like I'm reading it and I feel violated even though all I've done is read something. And I think that's all we're trying to do, is try to capture that emotion and feeling of what the Masnavi is trying to say. So we hope by the end of it that you just take that away, that maybe by the end of it you'll be a little closer to Rumi or a little Rumi inside of you. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm a bit of a believer not to prime the audience before they see the show sometimes. But perhaps I will say this is, as artists, we always have to make a choice. And that choice is, how much respect do we give to our audience? We can certainly try at certain point, when it comes to the concept of ego death, annihilation, fanafila as we call it, fana, to try and explain it and us interpret what Rumi did. But at a certain point, you'll see we made choices just to present you what Rumi did and leave it for yourself. And for some, that is unforgiving, because your mind is constantly looking for a resolution, for a beginning, middle, and end. And it can be frustrating if you don't find it. But I just say, keep in mind, maybe that was by design, and maybe that's what the Masnavis are by design also.
Yeah.
Yes, I also want to say, like, this piece, like Rumi's piece, like, we don't believe, I don't know if I said this already, but like Rumi, like, we don't believe Rumi's a puzzle to be solved. You know, like, we think like what you see is what you get, sort of thing, and what you interpret from it can be so cosmically different from even all of us who have sat and created the show. You know, we still argue about like scenes, and it's like, oh, does that scene mean this? It's like, no, actually, I think it means this. And then we direct it this way, and it's like, oh, now it means this. And like, what is? So, you know, we're not trying to complicate the matter. We're just trying to show you how insane Rumi was. Yeah.
On that note, the show went up 2 years ago at the Aga Khan Museum.
That's right.
So I'm curious, what are the big changes, or what are the big things that you still fight about?
The show has changed. We went from, I don't know if you've ever been to the Aga Khan Museum. It's absolutely beautiful. We did it in the center courtyard. So it sort of felt like a cage inside of a cage. And since, you know, it's like, you know, you can see the sky, and we had like a 30-foot set, you know, that looked like a mosque, built like a jail. So it sort of felt like you were in a cage inside of our cage, and you're sort of stuck there with us. When we came to the extra space at Tarragon, it's a completely different environment. You know, we're now in a very small, intimate setting. You know, like we throw things in the show, and when we were outside, like they would fly into the sky, and like birds would chirp because we have a lot of birds stories in there. But now it's completely different. Now, you know, now it's a quiet, intimate space. It feels like theater. And we haven't shied away from that at all. Like, you can see the walls at the back. We're not hiding anything. It feels very like Orwellian. Lights are pointed at you. We're not hiding the fact that you were here with us. So I think the biggest change has just been trying to make all these like grand ideas that we are talking about, even try to like make them small and intimate in a way that someone crying over here would actually try to relate to you. So I think that's been the hardest challenge, is try to just bring it to a much smaller arena, take all of our huge spectacle designs and like shrink them to a size where it's like it's not about the spectacle, it's actually just about Rumi. I think that's probably the thing we fought about the most.
Fair. I want to know, are there cages, the show is about being trapped in a cage, are there cages that you know you're trapped in?
100%. Absolutely.
Juicy gossip.
I was told I needed to be here at 6 p.m. I was still late, but I felt like I was trapped in a cage while I was getting ready. Every morning. No, I'm kidding.
Is it still a cage if you know you're trapped? Yes.
Well, I would say the first part of grief is aware. You have to be aware of the goddamn cage before.
Yeah.
No, but it's impossible. Like I would say in this world, especially for me, it's like it's impossible to. Like more and more people say we live in a simulation or whatever that means. And it's like, whether we do or not, it's like my life is so simulated. It's like before I wake up, I've already decided everything I need to do. And if I don't do it, like I have crazy stress about it. And then that stress never goes away. And then it builds up for like 20 years. And it's like, why? And then you go to Mexico and everyone's chilling, at the beach. And it's like, whoa, well, what a different world everyone is living. Why do I trap myself, in these thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if our audience has questions. Based on things that they've heard that maybe they would like revisited or heard more. Yes.
Just going to adapting it for the smaller space, for the extra space here. How much of that was sort of directorial, and how much of it was that a shift of the script from 2 years ago?
Sorry.
No, I think I just need to repeat the question.
Oh, yes.
Maybe.
Sorry,
So like
go
you're
ahead.
asking how much of it was directional and
Yeah, when you were speaking about sort of bringing the intimacy to the extra space, right, was the script altered to reflect that, or was that done perhaps a bit of both?
Yes, definitely a bit of both. The script has definitely been altered here and there. Nothing large, but definitely, I would say about 20-25% of it's probably different a little bit. Our cage is significantly smaller than it was at the museum, so that has changed everything in the way it's been directed. In the museum, because it was so large, there was a lot of chaos by just movement, whereas over here it's so small that stillness isn't such an attention holder in itself. So yeah, it sort of was going back to the drawing board idea, being like, how do we take all these crazy ideas and put them to something so small and so quiet, but still equally as relatable and expansive. It's definitely a challenge. We've been having a lot of fun with it, of course. But yes, I would say on the design side, pretty much every aspect of it has changed. There's no cage anymore. Now we have a ceiling, you'll see. So like, before it was like literally a cage inside of a cage and we're showing it, and now it's a little more interpretive to the mind, which is sort of more like a theater show anyway. Yeah.
excellent. Yes.
Just curious, what elements of this production do you feel are echoes of some principles of Brecht? Or are there?
Oh, yes, yeah. Singing, breaking the fourth wall, act titles, clown work, characters playing different people. Honestly, like we love Brecht. I would say if I could, I'd do all the Brecht in the world over here, which is much harder to do. But you'll see like the show starts, the actors walk in from the same door you guys walked in. There's a defined line between the cage and us, but there isn't any. Actors will talk to you, they'll walk up next to you. Pretty much a lot of it is definitely inspired by Brecht, I would say, most of it. Yeah.
Even in the writing room, it was Brecht inspired.
Yes.
You take the most, we're like, well, what are two examples of somebody who we consider absurd from the Sufism world, absurd from the theater world, and what happens when you put them together?
Yeah. And
so we've had a lot of fun actually. When Rumi was writing the Masnavis, those Masnavis draw on stories, artists from every single different time. So we said, in the spirit of the Masnavi, we'll do the same. So we draw on many different artists. You'll see there are some good references there. But again, they bleed into it together.
Yeah, and just to add that, like, there are 3 actors in the show. They never leave stage. They're always present, which is obviously insane for any actor to do. We don't hide anything from you. You will see the stage walls. You'll see all our props. You'll see literally everything. There is no hiding behind. We are trapped in our own cage. We're trying to play the same idea in a very Brechtian way, which is you can see everything. It's about to turn into absolute madness, but it's all there. We're not hiding anything, and I think that's sort of like in Brecht's nature, to sort of like show you everything in this way. Yeah.
Is Rumi considered to be absurd?
I wouldn't say that.
I wouldn't necessarily. I know my statement, but I guess I said is because when I read the Masnavis, for those who haven't read the Masnavis may not consider him absurd. Those who have may consider this is akin to some absurdist theater literature that you may come across.
Interesting.
Just because in the way those parables are presented.
Yeah, those parables are really weird. You will see some of them tonight.
Yes.
I was wondering if you have any perspectives or thoughts on Rumi's queerness and whether it's negotiated or in any way a part of the spiritual frameworks in the Masnavi.
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a really impossible question, actually. There are many schools of debate about Rumi's work. They all sort of contradict each other as well. So it's really hard to say definitively what is what. It seems pretty evident from a lot of the evidence that he was queer and gay. I know people don't like to hear that. It sort of feels like a black and white statement to us now that we've dwelled in the work so much. My assessment is that there must be something about that queerness that bleeds into the story. Like, how could it not? Who you are is what you write, so that has to be part of it. Yeah, I mean, what's funny is like the madness of the poems are even more insane than sexuality or anything like we argue about, or even Shakespearean times. So it's hard to necessarily say if like this is a sort of like a stickling point in his work, or if it's he's queer and look how insane his work is also,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would add that debate on his queerness usually arises from the fact of how he describes love for his guide, right? And for some, though, that is a very spiritual relationship that transcends everything. This is my guide who is taking me to a higher platform. Now, for some, the language of that can be interpreted as actually this was more physical in nature or more queer in nature than spiritual, or elements of both. So it's hard to disattain between both that take place. And whether that bleeds into the work, you know what? I think it's like what Rafeh was doing. It must, but because it wasn't a central focus of the work, I don't think it shines as much as it does. But what does shine is this love. And how to interpret it is up to us.
What is the importance of love
Oh, good God.
in your specific, in The Caged Bird Sings? Like Rumi and Jinn story specifically.
I think we've tried to have the most fun trying to talk about love. It's such a, the Beatles to Shakespeare, like everyone has their own take on love. And I think we were like, fuck it, like here's all versions of love, manipulation to, actually being present to, not talking to somebody because you care about them, to releasing themselves from you, if that's, so we really just tried to show all point of view. We've tried to embake it into the story of our characters, of love and betrayal. I would argue probably every scene has to do with love and betrayal. I would argue that's probably our entire lives also, whether it's my boss or my mom. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. What is love? Who knows? Something beautiful, though, I think.
Yeah, and that comes back to that concept of fanafila we're talking about, that annihilation, right? If you take Sufism literature on it, it's that love for the divine, but how does that even manifest itself? And when it comes back to those cages, the caged bird sings that we talk about, even the act of love can sometimes be a cage on itself, right? So how do you unleash yourself for that? And that's actually something, it's a central tenet of what we try to deal with in our play that you're about to see.
Nice. Does anybody else, we have some new audience members, does anybody else have questions that they would like answered? Yes.
I'm kind of wondering about the translation. Like, what was the original language that it was in?
It was written in Farsi.
Originally in Farsi.
Yeah, originally in Farsi.
Have you read the translation or the original?
So we
A little bit of both.
but there is debate about, much like anything in the text, whichever author uses English translation that you use changes certain words. So we picked one. That's the more popular one that we went with. But that's what we relied on. But then we just cross-referenced different literature as it came across. There are certain parables in the Masnavi that are more famous than the others. The cage bird is one of the most popular ones, which is why we kind of took it, because it's like that's a universally more agreed upon in its translation.
And has been translated into more languages?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I want to ask a really annoying question that's impossible, just because we still have time, okay?
Okay.
You know the trolley conundrum?
Oh yeah. Okay. Sure.
You
Does
pick
everybody
one.
know the trolley conundrum?
I'm excited to see where you're going with this
A
stuff.
trolley is on a track. It's headed, it's got 5 people on it, and on the track it's on, it's going to smash into a wall and everybody dies. And there's an option to pull a lever, but somebody is tied to the track. It's an impossible ethics question.
It's that Star Trek thing, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
for the few or for the many or whatever.
Yes. Exactly. What do you think Rumi would say
Oh my God.
about the trolley question?
I think Rumi's answer would be so insane you'd probably forget about the trolley and the people dying.
There's a famous Rumi quote. There's a field beyond right or wrong, and I'll meet you there. That's what he.
Yeah, I
Field
think that's
beyond
something. Yeah.
I think he would.
And there are
Yeah.
books trying to argue what that means.
But I think what you're trying to get down is what was Rumi's ethos.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I've never seen it framed in that perspective. Certainly, he was about the sacrifice. So I don't know how to answer that question. But what's really funny, since you asked that question, is that maybe you were alluding to this. There is a parable in the show that is about.
Yeah, there is. That's funny.
That is
literally
without
about
trying
that.
to give too much away, where Rumi was asking what's the most equitable way to do something, and are you putting your ego first? So without giving much away.
Nice.
There.
Wow, his way is much funnier than your way. The Star Trek way.
Ouch.
No, not your way, sorry. Yeah.
Continue, what were you going to say?
No. It's the same thing. It's about equity over equality sort of situation, and like it's sort of like an impossible answer when it comes to the practicality of things. And I wouldn't even say Rumi's answer is no more practical than any answer anyone can give. It sort of goes on into his own musings and becomes his own thing, and then comes back to it about equity in its own separate way that has to do with the divinity of love and not how maybe today how you and I perceive equity and career and stuff like that. So it's really hard. It's a spiritual world. It's quite hard to sort of directly entangle. Although this is what we have tried to do with the show, is to try to put it into a modern context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the one interesting fact, and I believe I have to double check, but I don't think the Masnavi was actually finished. I think Rumi passed away
Interesting.
Yeah.
before he completed his 6th book.
Interesting.
So
He's like Mozart.
yeah, is there. And Steph, something just came back to a question you asked, right? And you were talking about. Sorry, this is a pre-show, and I don't normally pre-show, so I don't want to give anything away. But one of the stories, since you are here at the pre-talk, that will say, you will see that is a prevailing theme throughout the show. I'd be curious to ask audience members afterwards, after you've seen it, why you think Rumi wrote that story. Because some of the feedback we've gotten is, that's a crazy story that was there throughout. How did you guys come up with it? We didn't. Sure, we've taken some liberty with the language, but the story arc really follows what you see, and that's the story that Rumi opens with.
This is
In the
true,
Masnavi.
actually. The crazier the story, the less liberties we took. I want you to know.
That's great.
Yeah.
I wonder what it's like dealing with language, like adapting something ancient that's poetical and making it for a modern day time, and also something that's in a different language, and grasping poetry of a different language and trying to put that. Are there things you did to help that translate?
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Phrases get, like jokes in English are not jokes in French, so not jokes in Urdu, not jokes in Hindi. And you certainly get lost in translation all the time. We're not the first people, like Dante's Inferno. If you read in Italian, you read it in English, the first line is completely different. Forget about anything else. So we've definitely tried our best to try to capture that ethos of what it is. The rhyming couplets don't work as beautifully as they do in English. Sometimes the direct alliteration of the information doesn't even work. So we've really spent a long time looking at those parables that we're trying to create, and oh man, we've argued to the death about what they could mean in a way that we could then present in a way that could be open to interpretation, as well as trying to hold some sort of structure to what Rumi was trying to say, if we were even right about that in the first place. So there's a lot of work that went into just trying to create that sanctity. It was a lot of fun, but I can't say it was easy.
Yeah. No, I think we were in the writer's room itself. Actually, it started off with, let's read these couplets, let's try to understand them, and how do we adapt and use that language to begin with. And then very quickly into the process, we decided we have to abandon this approach because we're not doing justice to it with our skill set. Our skill set, and I think what we are doing, is what we said is let's capture the essence of these stories. And then is there a way that we can keep their historical essence and contemporize them with parallel stories that we can come up with, such that it balances them? And what I personally love about the show, sorry, I know I'm one of the writers, but one of the joys we take pride in is how the show intertwines between very different stories that we ourselves have come up with and those that are historically true. It weaves, it bobs in and out. And those contemporary stories, I could say, yeah, I think Rumi may have written this. Maybe if it's in this day and age, it seems far-fetched but contemporary enough. But that interplay between what we have done and what is Rumi is what I enjoy about the show. Sometimes for you, it might be like, oh, I wonder what's Rumi, what's them, which is part of the essence of the show, if you can't tell. And then there'll be a certain part of the show you'll be like, well, this is just maybe strange, and that's Rumi.
I also want to just, because these questions feel very pointed, we have no answer. We're not trying to pose an answer to what Rumi was, who Rumi is, or why he wrote these things. All we're trying to do is show you how Rumi wrote these things and leave you up with the questions and answers, because some of them are radically insane. And we're not the only ones to argue about them.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna give you just quickly a story that we didn't use, just to give you not the one you want, Steph, because I have to double check my sources before I tell them all again, because this is on camera. But one is a popular story, for whatever reason didn't make it into our show, is called The Fisherman and the Boat. Okay, it's a simple Rumi story about a learned scholar who needs to cross from point A from point B, and there's a boat, there's a fisherman, and he takes this boat, and this entire time that scholar is just boasting about the importance of getting an education and telling this fisherman that this is really his path that he should be taking in life. Soon the boat, it strikes something, the boat strikes to sink, and the scholar starts to sink and scream for help. And maybe the boatman goes, maybe you should have learned how to swim than all your education.
Wow.
That is Rumi, yes.
I'm paraphrasing heavily. So it's not an attack on education of boats, but those are the kinds of stories that were in there. And we come back and relate that to what Rumi was talking to us about ego. That's kind of where these stories interplay in different places.
Nice.
So we can capture, like how I told you, we couldn't capture that in the poetry. So, but we can capture the essence of it, which is what we thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like Rumi heavily, like, it sort of relies on scenarios as metaphorical things that might exist in life. You know, like, what does the boat represent? Like the situation that the boat might represent versus the situation that. So I'm curious, in your adaptation of The Caged Bird Sings, do you do the same thing? Do you create situations, or do you
100%.
add anything? Yeah.
We definitely create situations. I mean, our characters will play, as the show goes on, there are at least 50 different characters in the show. I would say about 30 of them are different animals. We've tried really hard just to capture sort of what you read on paper, rather than try to dumb it down in any sort of way. Like, we've tried to sort of preserve the philosophy in a way that sounds sort of insane, but still has these, sort of parables to them. And I think that's what we've tried to do. Yeah.
Can you talk about the importance of animals?
Yeah, the Masnavi is littered with it. Like, that's probably Rumi's favorite literary device is animals. And he was anthropomorphized, I butchered that word, but you know what I'm trying to say, in so many different ways already back and then. And so we have a lot of fun with that in our show, right? Why animals? Those were the things at the time that I can't answer. Again, I'm not going to try to answer that question. But
your own.
as writers, and, we said, he's doing that. Let's play with that form. He's given us something. Let's play in his world.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Assalamualaikum to you both.
Walaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.
I'm curious, you had mentioned the set that you had at the ARTaud Museum. First of all, beautiful museum, beautiful space. But you had mentioned how it was kind of looking like a masjid, it was kind of looking like a jail, it was kind of looking like a cage. I'm curious if you experienced any pushback about the play from our community, if people were like, this is going against Islamic values, or you were depicting Rumi in XYZ way, or if you had any like aunties come up to you and say things.
We had aunties come up to us and say they loved it, actually. Yeah. And I know, just like you, we were very afraid, because I was like, we're literally going to build a mosque and build a jail right inside of it, inside of like the biggest sanctity of Islam in Toronto.
and do a queer-friendly show.
And then do a queer-friendly show.
In a Pride Month, and there.
Yeah.
We love that.
No, we thankfully got a really good response out of the show. People love the set, as you said. I think we sold more tickets just by people coming into the museum being like, what's that? Because it did sort of like tower. It was like 30 feet tall. It really felt like a huge jail cell that then also represents a mosque, and then like towers in the air. It was kind of hilarious, actually. They let us do it. I'm with you. But no, overall, I would say we had quite a good response to it all.
You'd be. Yeah. I'm not going to lie to you. That was part of
concern.
It was
definitely scary.
Of course, it was. But I quote Faulkner when I say the duty of an artist is to himself only, even if he has to sell his own mother. I think that's Faulkner.
Wow.
Was that Foucault?
No, I think it's Foucault, and he says,
Foucault.
Even if I have to kill my mother, I will do it. Which is
Wow.
Again, inspired by one of the Fs did it.
But like same thing over here, and the things we're trying to talk about. Like, we're always trying to not push boundaries, so to speak, but to provoke thought in this way. So I'm really glad that they even let us do it, and I'm really happy that we had quite a good response to it.
Yeah.
I think
Somebody got married in that cage.
people got married in that cage. We have literally wedding photographs of people in the cage. I don't know why. We didn't say take them. We just said you can. But yeah.
Yes.
Do I understand correctly that Rumi's guide was Jinn?
Shams. His name is Shams. Yeah.
Shams.
Yeah.
In real life, it was Shams.
Yeah.
In our show, we have two other characters called Jin and Sal that aren't necessarily representative of Shams in our show, but also play a part in there. Okay, I'm curious about what's behind your question.
Well, I'm wondering where Jinn, because in our or my understanding, jinn is a spirit.
Yes.
Correct.
Well put.
Yep, that's literally why we've taken the name Jinn, to sort of show like that battle between sort of the spirit and the ego in this way. Technically, which is not necessarily directly related to the show, Shams' nickname is Sal, who is our third character. But again, they all play very different characters in this way, so we're not directly trying to relate love in this way that Rumi, again, because that's like more of a biography of Rumi than it is his work, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So we've taken some liberties there, but we're not trying to say that, oh, like, Rumi and Shams deserve to be together, quote unquote, in this way.
Yeah. And I will say again, without giving too much away, if you think about the character, what do we know about a jinn? The jinn lives in two worlds, and it kind of crisscrosses between them. It's here, and we can't see it. It's in the nether as well. You may see some similarities in the show.
Yes.
Okay, so obviously there are folks here who have maybe never read the Masnavi and don't really know a lot about Rumi. And I hear that you both have said that you have either read in English or even partially in Farsi. What, in your opinion, makes a good translation of the Masnavi? Or if you were to give your audience tips on they're wanting to read it for the first time, what would you say to look out for?
That's a good question.
We have a translator, right?
Yeah.
His name?
I'm gonna try to answer this with something else a little more personal.
Go
Okay.
for it.
I'm Muslim, grew up reading the Quran. I have come across many translations of the Quran that's written in Arabic, which fundamentally change certain words, which have inspired different sects altogether. SECTS. I'm going to be honest, I don't think I'm qualified enough to answer that question on what makes a good translation of the Masnavi. I think what we did was just try our best to cross-reference one or two translations for the stories that we thought we want to use and say, do they align close enough that we understand the key components of it? And are we not getting something drastically wrong? And left it at there? Because this isn't by us, and if I may say, a scholarly endeavor. It's one that we were approaching it more of an artist's perspective on what is that essence of that story, and is there two translations that support it, then we can proceed from there.
Lovely.
I would agree with
Well,
that.
I think that's about the time we have for today. So I want to say thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Rafeh
guys.
and
Thank
you for
ARTaud,
coming.
Thank you,
and to
thank you.
everybody for being here.